Hello everyone. I often talk about the importance of having the right view. While it might be obvious for some people, when I started reading the Suttas, that very importance eluded me. Today we try to analyze what the right view even is, why it comes first, way before right jhana by the way, and why it defines the entire practice. Without the right view, there might be a training, but there's not yet the path arisen in yourself. Since jhana is the most popular word that made its way into the popular spiritual culture, I like to start with such an example. Likely 99% of all people who practice jhana in some way or another do so based on some sort of breath watching method that usually emphasizes feeling good in some way or another. They sit down on the cushion or a chair, do the drill they have memorized, learned, and get the reward of some blissful state of mind. Yet when they leave the cushion, they are pretty much back to normal and repeat that exercise day in and day out until the day they die, pretty much. And that kind of jhana is devoid of the right view, of the right direction, as I like to call it. But more on that a bit later in the video. Yet when the Buddha talked about jhana in the Suttas, he did so in very different ways. In the Suttas, there was no jhana that was limited to sitting. The Buddha even called jhana the very basis for liberation, and you surely aren't only liberated when sitting, but in all postures. And this is likely my biggest criticism of many modern jhana practices. They have very clear limits. They are only practiced sometimes and not all the times, not in all postures. The Buddha said that right jhana has only one destination, and that is dispassion, cessation, Nibbana. What is the difference between those two practices? Well, while there is jhana that is devoid of the right view and not leading to liberation in the suttas, even that is completely different from the Buddha jhana. In fact, the Buddha did not praise any jhana. He did praise right jhana and right samadhi, and very much condemned wrong jhana and wrong samadhi. And according to the suttas, both versions very much exist. Interestingly, even if you do practice the same jhana the Buddha was talking about, it can still be wrong. Why is that? Because you perform it without the right view. That is, the Buddha even said the following: "Bhikkhus, I shall teach you noble right samadhi with its support and requisites. Listen and attend closely to what I shall say." It is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, and right mindfulness. Unification of mind equipped with these 7 factors is called a noble right samadhi. Therein, bhikkhus, right view comes first. And how does right view come first? He understands the wrong view as wrong view and right view as right view. This is one's right view. For basically every element of the path, the Buddha repeats that right view must come first in the sutta. I think Majjhima Nikaya 170. So the right view is rather important and really is the first element of the path, while right samadhi jhana, or right concentration, comes last. Everything is an equipment of samadhi, as the Buddha put it. In fact, right samadhi is a result of the entire practice, and the path leads to it. And the Buddha called it, and all the other elements, equipments. The entire training leads to and culminates in right samadhi, and of the right samadhi, one version is the path of jhana. If you dwell in that right samadhi for long enough, the result can only be full liberation of mind. And if there are still some hints of clinging left, the result is at least anagami after 7 years of practicing like that. If that is not the case, and you are not an anagami after such a length of times, it is likely that your practice is devoid of the right view, and thus per definition wrong. So you have not been doing what the Buddha was telling you. And the Buddha said, from wrongness comes failure, not success. And how is it, monks, that from wrongness comes failure, not success? In a person of wrong view, wrong intention comes into being. In a person of wrong intention, wrong speech. In a person of wrong speech, wrong action. In a person of wrong action, wrong livelihood. In a person of wrong livelihood, wrong effort. In a person of wrong effort, wrong mindfulness. He remembers wrongly. And in a person of wrong mindfulness, wrong concentration. In a person of wrong concentration, wrong knowledge. In a person of wrong knowledge, wrong release from suffering. That person is not released from suffering, and oftentimes he even thinks that it is impossible, and he cannot see the connection between the practice and his meditation method, as an example. And if he cannot see it, then he is surely not practicing rightly, because the practice that you are doing must bring you closer to liberation. So what makes the right view so important? Well, we could have a look at the synonyms that the Buddha gave us. They very much give us a very good hint at what the Buddha was talking about. And the Buddha offered us quite a number of synonyms for the right view, and among those are the opening of the Dhamma eye, the right view, stream entry, knowing that he knows, seeing the arising and passing of anicca, 100% faith in the Buddha, not being able to take any other teacher, independent of a teacher, knowing right and wrong, being destined to liberation, Dhamma face followers, Sotapannas, wisdom that discerns the arising and passing of phenomena, and most importantly, the understanding of the Four Noble Truths or dependent origination. Those are all the same thing. They all point to the very same thing. And some of those are especially useful, namely teacher independence. Knowing that he knows, knowing right is right and wrong is wrong. Why is that? Because one of right view has understood what must be done or not done to reach Nibbana and is guaranteed that within 7 lifetimes. He knows exactly what to do and especially not to do to reach that goal. He understands how he himself causes and fuels his own suffering and has learned how to not do that. By realizing that he has been doing it, he stops. Because why on earth would you continue doing something? This is why 99.999% of suffering can fall away just like that. He no longer does his suffering. For very advanced practitioners who are truly ready to leave everything behind, right view and Nibbana are more or less the same thing. For those who are not yet willing to drop everything, the process between Sotapanna, attaining the right view, and full Nibbana takes longer. Or in short, and this is very important now, the right view is exactly what makes the other element of the path right. Before the right view, there simply is no path. There is a gradual training towards the path, however. Yet the Sotapanna has attained the entire noble path through his right view. Whatever he does now can be right, as he understands what right and wrong even are. And as a result, he can stop doing everything that is wrong and cultivate the right. Before that, you are at least partially in the dark, and that must be acknowledged. If you truly knew what suffering is, if you truly knew what craving is, having understood the first truth or something like that, then you would be free. But if you are not free, then you have not understood it. That's a very easy benchmark, so to speak. It can also be beneficial to think of right as a term that indicates a direction. The Buddha used the term kusala and akusala for right and wrong. Normally they are translated as right and wrong or wholesome and unwholesome. However, those translations can be misleading, as there is at least a hint of objectivity in the definitions of those words. This is why I simply like to translate kusala as leading towards personal liberation and akusala as the opposite. And just a quick reminder, this is deeply personal. Only really the 5 precepts are always kind of bad. Everything else can and cannot be bad, depending on the presence of craving, which is exactly what must be understood in the practice. That is the understanding of the Four Noble Truths, how craving causes suffering. While people usually ignore this, or simply skip past it, completely missing the extraordinary importance, I will still repeat it here, and some might see it. Basically, whatever you do in and of itself is neither good nor bad. Going to the library can be good if done for the right reasons, even if 99% of the world would consider it rather beneficial. A true Dhamma practitioner does not rely on what the world says, and instead examines his own experience closely. Why do I want to go to the library? What is my reason and intention? What is my real reason? Sometimes, or oftentimes, those real intentions are hidden from us. Kind of have to peel those false intentions away like the layers of an onion. And those can change by the minute. If you have taken away one, the next comes up. And only if my own intentions are pure may I go to the library and consider it beneficial. Only then. And you should very much lean to the side of asceticism. When you are unsure, then it's very likely that craving is involved. And reading Dhamma in the library might be good if you need more knowledge, but it could also just be a distraction. You could also just do it to feel better, to feel safer, to not confront the void. And the same action from the outside is now unwholesome. And the very same thing also applies to jhana and other meditation techniques. It completely and entirely revolves around why you do what you plan to do right now. And it's all about your own intentions right now. It's about the presence of craving. Intentions and craving are the same thing. I use them as synonyms pretty much. Well, if there is greed, if there is aversion, if there is delusion or distraction, it is wrong and unskillful. Wrong and unskillful intentions. And you should not do those. And this can be very subtle and very detrimental for you. And the Buddha pretty much said that your conduct can only be purified by repeatedly checking, by using your mindfulness as a reflection pretty much. And he said so in the Rahula Sutta as an example. If you, for example, sit down in meditation and experience piti and sukha, and that technique even revolves around such perceptions and sensations, well, how could there not be greed? Greed is not some crazy urge or a property of capitalism and Buddhism. It is your attitude of wanting, of anticipating, welcoming, entertaining, or having something valued. That is greed. Thinking highly of something. Thinking something is worth attaining. So if you look forward to your meditation, do it every day, produce nice feelings and have trouble not doing it for a while, or are even inclined towards repeating it forever, that can be a huge red flag that whatever you are doing is not Sama Samadhi. If you do it rightly, it should be harder to go back to sensuality with progressing practice. You should stop seeing value in such feelings based on practice. You should no longer be moved by feelings. You should be more and more liberated from feelings, detached from feelings, and not more reliant on them, not wanting more good feelings. So whether there is wanting, looking forward to, delighting and entertaining, welcoming, cherishing, longing, valuing something, thirsting, having ambitions, goals, clinging, or whatever word resonates best with you. And I like to use many because many words resonate with different people. Then whatever you do is not right. In fact, that very presence of another word for craving is the very definition of wrongness in practice. So when you go right back to wanting, and your meditation is usually limited to sitting for a while, for a few hours even, then it's very likely wrong samadhi. It is not leading to Nibbana, not leading to dispassion, not leading to freedom from feelings, not leading to dispassion, cessation, stilling of activities and Nibbana. Right is a direction of practice that is only available to those of right view and higher. So anyway, when we have accepted the necessity of the right view, how can we practice when all we do is wrong without the right view, one might ask? Well, it is simple, but not easy. Your first goal is obviously to get the right view. You really want to understand the source of all your problems. You want to understand your own role in the entire process. You want to learn how you yourself are the very source of your own problems and suffering. Once you understand that, you can stop. Why? Because you can only really stop those things with certainty that you are doing. Everything else is not within your domain. That said, you will not get it right 100% immediately. And that is fine. It takes a bit of trial and error, and it does require repeated and hard effort. Yet as long as you keep at it and are self-honest, you will fix all your blind spots and attain the spotless vision of the Dhamma. Self-honesty is really crucial there, as humans really have an astonishing capacity for rationalization. We are absolutely great at convincing ourselves of wrong things and even cast all doubts about that aside. We tell ourselves stories that are not right, and we lie to ourselves about our ultimate motivations. In the end, we are always motivated by feelings. All of that must be overcome to reach the ultimate. And that very attainment of the ultimate, in its mild and full form, is described as follows in the Suttas. Excellent, Master Gotama. Excellent, Master Gotama. Master Gotama has made the Dhamma clear in many ways, as though he were turning upright what has been overthrown, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the darkness, so that those with good eyesight can see form. Majjhima Nikaya number 56. That is how the right view pretty much is experienced. And the full fruit of the stream entry, as I understand it, is more like then the Master, the Blessed One, gave the householder Upali progressive instructions, that is, talk on giving, talk on virtue, the blessings of renunciation. And when he knew that the householder's mind was ready, he expounded to him the teachings that are special to the Buddha, namely suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path leading to its cessation. And just as a clean cloth, with all marks removed, would take dye evenly, the spotless vision of the Dhamma arose in him. All that is subject to arising is subject to cessation. And then the householder Upali saw the Dhamma. He crossed beyond doubt, did away with perplexity, gained intrepidity, and became independent of others. Also from Majjhima Nikaya number 56. But anyway, just to give you the look and feel. It's an earth-shattering experience, and it is the most important thing for a practitioner. But let us now come to the most important point. First, the right view is crucial, yet underestimated. Without the right view, everything you do is at least partially wrong, and you have to acknowledge that and take responsibility for that. The right view is a direction of practice, the right direction that is leading towards liberation. And only with it can you know with certainty if what you do leads to liberation or if it leads away from liberation. Before everything else, strive towards the right view, not jhana. Even if you manage to get a jhana, it would still be wrong samadhi. It would be wrong jhana that would very likely lead you away from liberation. Anyway, this should be enough for today. If you enjoy what I do, feel free to like and subscribe and do all the other YouTube things. But until then, I wish you a pleasant day and goodbye.